Que lo que. El Afroamericano Dominicano es aquí. And I'm glad to be here. All right, glad to be back. Look, man, the last few videos were very, very controversial. All right, so I'm letting you guys know. This video, you might want to look at the comment section, all right? Because some cats are going to be in this jaw, giving their opinions, their thoughts. They might call me crazy or whatever have you. And you can listen to them. But you see my channel, you see I be there, you see how I get around, all right? This video is going to be about how you can get around when you're in the DR, okay? Now look, I'm dividing it into 3 parts, okay? So this is going to be a lengthy video. If you only care about how to get around Sosua, fast forward towards the end of the video, okay? Because first I'm going to do Santo Domingo, then I'm gonna do Puerto Plata, and then I'm gonna do Sosua. And yes, I know Sosua is technically a part of Puerto Plata, but that's how I'm gonna do it. Because if you're going to Santiago, you'll be able to apply what I say about Santo Domingo to Santiago. If you're going to Boca Chica or Punta Cana, you can apply what I'm saying about Puerto Plata to those 2 places, okay? And Sosua, that's what all the fellas care about, because they want to all right, so before we begin, like, comment, subscribe, and look, I appreciate all the support that I've been getting so far, man. It's been going ham. And shout out to all the fellas that's getting their passport traveling, and we're gonna get right to it. All right, so look, when you go to the DR, you're gonna need to get around. At the end of the day, you're not gonna stay in one fixed location the whole time you're there. All right, it's very important that you have a reliable form of transportation and a safe form of transportation. You get what you pay for in a way. Now, with Santo Domingo, when you arrive to Santo Domingo, first things first, when you get to Santo Domingo, you're gonna obviously land and you're gonna walk through the airport, and you're gonna notice car rentals. You need to get a car. You need to rent a car when you're in Santo Domingo. All right. Don't do Ubers. Don't do guaguas. Don't do motoconchos. You need to rent a car when you're in Santo Domingo. Here's why. Santo Domingo is big as shit. It is like, there's different, you got east, west, north, south. It's so big, and their bus system doesn't necessarily go to every part. And unless you speak the language, you're not going to know when to get off and where you're at, and how to let the conductor or the driver know where to let you off at. You know what I mean? You may not even be able to get access to them if you're on a train. You know what I mean? So you're going to have to ask around, which to some might be a good thing, because it's going to force you to learn your Spanish and improve in that way. But if you want to avoid that, you need a rental car. All right? Motoconchos are out the question. It's too dangerous. All right? For as far as you're going to be going, it's too dangerous to use a motoconcho. A guagua, it's sort of like the same thing with as the train, but it's a bus. But what I mean by same thing is communicating. You're gonna have to not necessarily be an inconvenience to the driver, but you're gonna have to again ask them, like, yo, where's this? How do I get here? When do I get off? Can you let me know? Which could be a bit of an inconvenience versus having a rental car and using a GPS to get to where you got to get to. All right, you're gonna save yourself a lot of headache if you do it that way. Also, now look, the rental cars there are going to be expensive, okay? I'm just being honest with you. But you don't just get any rental car. You're going to see Alamo, you're going to see Enterprise, you're going to see, what's the one? I think it's called Budget or something like that. But the one you want to get if you're in Santo Domingo, we're not talking about Puerto Rico, because if you're in Puerto Rico, you need to use Alamo, okay? But in Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic, you need to use Honda rental, okay? Honda rentals. The down payment is cheaper. You don't need as much the hold, because they got to put a hold on your card, isn't as high. Whereas Alamo and Enterprise, they want to hold like $500 or some shit like that. You know what I mean? You don't need to do all that, especially if you're like me and you're traveling on a budget. The last thing you want is for some car rental to be holding more funds. I mean, that's taken away from your fund, if you catch my drift. All right. Now, when you rent this car, they're going to do an inspection before you get into it. In the DR, because they're not applying or enforcing a lot of like traffic laws and whatnot, you need to do your own inspection. Have your camera out, walk around, make sure everything's working. The one thing that you got to make sure is your hazard lights, your turn signal, your left turn signal, right turn signal, your brake lights. Have that on camera before you get in the car and going about your way. All right. You want to make sure everything is working, because the last thing you need them to do is try to pin something on you when you try to return it. Like, oh, this shit wasn't here, this dip wasn't here, this scratch wasn't here, this turn signal was working. You don't need none of that. And the way they drive out there is crazy. Now, I know y'all probably thinking like, damn, well, isn't it dangerous to get a car out there? Like, it's dangerous either way, because they don't enforce traffic laws out there. Now, when you're driving, now the most dangerous is the motor conchos in Santo Domingo, all right? But when you're driving, you stick with the basics, all right? You stick with maintaining your distance. Stick with the right lane. You know what I mean? Stay in the right lane unless you're passing, okay? Your speed. You got to be a defensive driver times 10, all right? Out there. But I promise you, you're going to have a way better experience in Santo Domingo, because you get to explore the city as much as you want, as far as you want to go. You're going to see how big it actually is, and what I mean on why you can't just rely on the metro, the guaguas, the motor conchos, especially if you don't know Spanish. You feel me? You're better off getting a rental. It's too big to walk. It's too dangerous to take the motor concho, and you need to know Spanish if you're going to take the metro and the guagua, okay? As simple as that. Unless you want to keep translating and asking people, what does this mean? Where do I get off? And things of that nature. If you're okay with that, then yeah, you can take the trains and walk and some guaguas or whatever. But if you want to avoid all of that, use Honda rental at the Santo Domingo airport. Be prepared to put down some money and have money on your card, because they want to hold it for, incidentals and shit like that, okay? But with Santo Domingo, you rent a car. All right, moving on to Puerto Plata. Also, let me know if you used Honda rental before. I mean, if you're an Enterprise dude, if you're an Alamo bull, if you got any hacks that I missed out, let us know in the comment section, because these are the hacks that I use. All right, I use Honda rental, you know what I mean, and I have a certain amount on my car. But anyway, moving on, Puerto Plata, okay? Look, Puerto Plata is a city, but it's nowhere near as big as Santo Domingo, okay? You don't need, if you're staying in Puerto Plata, not if you're staying in Sosua and you want to visit Puerto Plata, that's something different. That's why I'm saving Sosua for the end, all right? And again, the Santo Domingo joint, you can apply that to Santiago. But look, if you're staying in Puerto Plata, you do not need a rental. If you want to get a rental, sure, go for it. Be my guest. You don't need a rental to get around Puerto Plata. When I'm in Puerto Plata, I use guaguas and motor conchos, all right? Guaguas are cheaper than motor conchos, and guaguas essentially can get you where you need to go in the city. You just might have to walk a few blocks when you get off the motor concho, okay? The guaguas is your best bet. They frequently run. They run past the airport if you need to get to the airport. They go past the beaches if you need to get to the beach. They go to the main touristy attractions, you know what I mean? Like, use a guagua. All right, now if you're not going that far, maybe you're at the Independence Plaza and you want to get to the beach, you can hop on a motor concho. Yes, they're dangerous, but you're not going to be on the motor concho that long, you know what I mean? Hop on, get there. If you just want to hurry it up, you don't want to have to wait for a guagua, yeah, you can use a motor concho. Also, a point that I forgot, in the DR or in Santo Domingo, taxis. If you want to pay taxis nonstop, be my guest, okay? But in Santo Domingo, you're gonna want to pick up your guests, if you will, and you're gonna want to drop them off. Okay, and if you're paying a taxi to pick them up and drop them off nonstop, yeah, you're gonna run up a check. All right, but back to Puerto Plata. Anyway, again, use a guagua or a motoconcho in Puerto Plata because everything is a lot closer, and you can walk, of course, but your main source of transportation is going to be guaguas, motoconchos, and feet. Okay, could you use a taxi in Puerto Plata? Sure. Okay, but you'll be saving money on a guagua and a motoconcho. You don't need to rent a car. Last but not least, Sosua. Okay, now this stirred up a lot of controversy in my second to last video. Dog, look, it depends on where you're trying to go, if you are and where you're at. Okay, but rest assured, you don't need to rent a car. Okay, you got options though. Outside of rent a car, if you want, you can, but I wouldn't because the streets are small as shit. You got taxis, which I don't use. You got guaguas, motoconchos, and feet. If you want to go to the strip, depending on how close you are, you probably don't need anything. You probably just need to walk. All you got to do is just walk, depending on how close you are. If you're further out, if you're about a 2 to 3, let's say a 5-minute ride. No, I want to do 5 minutes. If you're about a 2 to 3 minutes away, use a guagua. I know they're dangerous. I know it's a risk, but it's only 2 to 3 minutes for 200 pesos. I'm not saying risk your life for 200 pesos, but you're in a developing country. All right, you're gonna have to take risk, no matter, just for being there. You know what I mean? We take risks here in America, just driving to work. You know what I mean? So it's a 3-minute motoconcho ride. You use the motoconcho. You know what I mean? If you're in Ocean Village, I used to use taxis to get to the strip, but if you're in Ocean Village, you can use a guagua from the main road or a motoconcho. Hell, one time I walked from Ocean Village to the strip. I wouldn't recommend that for y'all, but I'm trying to manage my weight, so that's what I did. But if you're in as far out as Ocean Village, use a guagua or a motoconcho. Now, if you're in Cabarete, or if you're coming from Puerto Plata to the strip, use a guagua. All right. Now, there's going to be cats in the comment section saying use an Uber. This is for all my Uber heads out there. Listen up. If you're using an Uber, you gotta the prices that come up on the Uber app isn't the price you're going to pay him. You're going to pay him more than that. He knows the prices are extremely cheap, that he's not making none. They're going to, unless you got a good taxi driver that lets you tight way, he gonna hook you up, you're gonna be paying airport prices on your Uber. It's just that simple. You know what I mean? You're better off getting a taxi if you want to do the Uber route. They're gonna be cheaper than the Uber. All right, you're not gonna pay less in an Uber than in a taxi. Think about that. Just think. The Uber's not a discount hack. It's more of a luxury plus convenient type of service. All right, it's not cheaper. All right, that's for all my Uber heads out there. Just get an Uber. I had a dude in the comment section yo, get an Uber. I'm like, no, don't get an Uber. Just get a fucking taxi. All right, because you're gonna be paying more anyway. And again, unless you got a connect out there where they're gonna give you cheaper prices than taxis, then all right. I mean, you use an Uber, but just use a taxi, bro. They're everywhere. It's cheaper. But the prices that you see on Uber is not going to be the price that you pay. Okay. So yeah, again, you can apply how to get around in Puerto Plata and Boca Chica and Punta Cana, how you get around in Santo Domingo with Santiago. Okay. And Sosua, it's a small beach town, so you can walk, you can use a motoconcho. You know what I mean? It's not that far the action ain't that far from where you stand. All right. And again, if you're in Puerto Plata going to Sosua, use a guagua. If you're in Cabarete going to Sosua, use a guagua. All right. So your options are, your choices should be Santiago, rental, or not Santiago, Santo Domingo. Well, yeah, Santo Domingo, Santiago, car rental. Okay. Puerto Plata, Boca Chica, and Punta Cana, guaguas and motor conchos. And then Sosua would be, again, walking, motor conchos, and maybe guaguas, depending on how far out you are. All right. If you want to be bougie, use a taxi before Uber. Okay, it's that simple. Use a taxi before Uber. All right. I hope this helps. Let me know if I missed anything. Put that in the comment section. Okay. Yeah, that does it. Okay, so like the video, comment down below, subscribe, and the next time you're in the DR, all right, I'm hoping you're going to be wearing some of the traveler merch. All right, click the link in the description. Okay, if you know anything about TeePublic, they got some good stuff over there. All right, pick you up some traveling merch so you can look good over there. All right, they don't shrink, good quality, and they hug the arms. You know what I mean? The sleeves, they hug the arms. All right, so look, I'm out this joint, man. Have a safe trip, a therapeutic trip, a memorable trip, and let us know how it goes, man. All right, hasta luego. Peace.